Hi everyone, it's me, Spring the Fiber Enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to teach you a stitch pattern, and I'm going to show you how to start it, doing it in single color to show you the repeats. Now, in some of the stitch patterns for this stitch pattern, it gives you an example of using 5 colors. Now, I cut it down to using just 2 colors. I think it looks really, really amazing in 2 colors. It's called the Crunchy Chevron stitch, and it's really neat. And I think if you do a solid and then use a variegated, it turns out just amazing. I'm really, really liking it in 2 colors. Now, I have done a swatch with 5 colors, just so that way I can show you. And if you've ever done mosaic crochet, you'll understand why I'm not a fan. So here is 5 different colors. Both sides look the same, but you have these tails on each end where you cut away and start up a new color. It's fine if that doesn't bother you. I'm just personally not a fan. And yeah. So I decided to work it up in 2 colors. That way I could carry the yarn up, and it's only being carried up 2 rows. Let's see. Shall we use lavender? Yeah, I think the lavender will be okay. All right. So I'm just going to grab a 5mm crochet hook and place a slip knot on my hook. Now this is done in multiples of 8 plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That'll just give me a couple repeats. And each repeat is, like this here is 2 repeats. That's 1, and this is 2. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can look at what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. All right, so this is just a loop on our hook, right? This is the first stitch. That's the second stitch. We're going to go into that second stitch. And for general, I would be working into the back loops or the spine of your crocheted chain here. But for the starters, just to show you these 2 rows, I'm going to be working just into the front of those stitches. Okay, so I inserted my hook into the second stitch, second chain from my hook, and I'm going to yarn over in single crochet. That's my first stitch. I'm going to place 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to be placing puff stitches into the next 4 stitches. So we're going to do a puff stitch into each of the next 4. So we're working, it's in multiples of 8, but for each little section here, we have 4 single crochets and 4 puff stitches. So let's do a puff stitch together. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. You're going to do that a total of 3 times. So here was your first, and your second, and your third. You should have 7 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 and chain 1. Now we're going to do that 3 more times. Move a little bit faster. That's 1, 2, and 3. 7 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through all 7 and chain 1. 2 more times. So there's 7 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 7, and chain 1. All right, we got 1 more of these puff stitches to do. 1, 2, and 3. 7 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all 7, yarn over and chain 1. Now we're going to single crochet, 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. We're repeating what we just did to the end of the row. 4 single crochets and 4 puff stitches. All right, the last puff stitch for row 1. And chain 1. You're going to chain 1 more and turn your work over. All right, this is our repeating row. Where there are puff stitches, we do single crochets. Where there's single crochets, we do puff stitches and repeat. Now, where to place your single crochet. So here we have our puff stitch and our chain 1, and here's a puff stitch, and you see this space in between? You're going to go right into that stitch in between. Right in between, and single crochet. We're going to jump over that next puff stitch, the next little eye above it, and into the stitch between the puff stitches, and single crochet. Once again, you're going to jump over your next puff stitch, the little eye above it, and go into that stitch in between the puff stitches. We got 1 more to do. We're going to jump over our next puff stitch, and you see this stitch right next to it before your single crochets? That's where you place your next single crochet. And now we're going to work puff stitches over the next 4 stitches. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and repeat until you have 7 loops on your hook, all going into that same stitch here. Complete your puff stitch and chain 1. And we're going to do that 3 more times. That's 1. 2. And 3. Finish that stitch. And now we're back to our single crochets. And then you just repeat. You're going to skip over the puff stitch and single crochet into that stitch between your puff stitches. You're going to do that 4 times. And place 1 puff stitch into each of the remaining 4 stitches. That is your repeat for this pattern. Now, your choice of how you're going to do your colors, or how how big you want to make it, that's up to you. So we're just going to complete this row. And I'll show you how to work a 2-color repeat. One more down here in the last stitch. And that is all there is to your repeat. Break it down. It is in multiples of 8, 4 puff stitches, and 4 single crochets. and then how many ever repeats. And I'm going to work over 2 rows with you. I'm going to move quickly because we have the pattern already. We have the pattern down pat already. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So now I'm going to work over these 2 repeats exactly as I have just shown you. And a single crochet into that first stitch, into the next 3. And work my puff stitches. Okay, so I'm going to continue working this row and turn my work and work the next row till I'm almost to the end. And that's where you're going to need to know how to do your color change. So that's where I will meet back up with you. I'm just going to continue working this row. You've already seen this done in the lilac color. This is exactly the same. I'm just working the same pattern as I just showed you. The difference will come at the end of the next row. So we're working 2 rows for every color if you're doing it in 2 colors. So I'm going to meet back up with you when I get down here to my puff stitches, my last few puff stitches. All right, I've got 2 puff stitches left. The very last one is where the color change happens and how I carry the color up. 4, 5, 6, 7, yarn over, pull through, chain 1. I'm going to do this last puff stitch to a certain point. There's 3, 5, and 7. So generally we would go through at this point and chain 1. But I'm going to pick up both strands, my previous color and the color that I'm currently working, and I'm going to yarn over both those strands and pull both strands all the way through. Now before I chain 1, I'm going to drop the color I'm currently using and pick up my next color, the one that I just brought up. I'm picking it up and I'm chaining 1 with it. And now I can chain 1, turn my work, and begin my next row very easily. Just like that. So I'm going to pull up a loop so I can show you. You do have your strands carried along the side here. And it is a little different from the opposite side. However, you can put a trim on it if you'd like, but it's really not as noticeable as you would think. I mean, you can see the strands. If you're sitting there looking at the side of it, you can see the strands. But also keep in mind there's still strands here along the side that you didn't change colors on. So you could potentially work a single crochet around or put an edging on it and clean it up if you so desire. But here's the two sides, just like that. I really like this crunchy chevron stitch. I think it's really neat. I'm curious, have you used in any projects of your own? Did you use it in a solid color? Did you use multiple colors? Only a couple colors? I'd like to know from you if you've used this stitch pattern in anything that you have done. Please let me know down in the comments section of this video, and tell me what you used it for and how many colors did you use. As I said, a lot of times I've seen it where there's 5 colors to complete this stitch pattern. I'm just not a fan of all those tails at the end, so I figured out a way to carry the yarn up the side and only do 2 colors. And I personally like it better, but that's just me. All right, everyone, be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.